Morning, everybody. Can you all hear me? Maybe somebody can put this in the chat just to verify. I had some very last minutes. I already see Sander. Can hear you. Perfect. I had some very last minute network issues that we lost our complete network. So basically I'm using my mobile phone at this point for the network connectivity. But in the end, it works. So we will just wait for another few minutes before we get started. If we're looking a step further and we see our extended offering more or less, this is where we are introducing our services and the support that we also can deliver. So maybe just good to highlight, for example, we have quite a good technical support. So if you are in need for some technical service, some installation challenges, etc., we have technical sales engineers all over the world. From our region here, the Benelux, we have a close connection to Sweden, where our headquarters is, where we can also deliver support for you in case this is needed. Another example is that we also have the academy where we train and educate our partners, our resellers into how to work with Access, but also looking on a bigger scale than that, or maybe really specific on access control as an example. And here we also find our partner software. And this is for today, where we are presenting this with Eocortex, which is a partner of Access, and where we are working together on creating a specific solution, in this case LPR, for example. So this is basically how it's built up, and I can talk for hours on the Access offering if we go through all the parts and everything that we do, but I think this is maybe a little bit out of scope. So for this one, we are jumping a little bit into LPR. And today we're going to talk about what's needed for LPR from an Access perspective. We can consider some of the installations. I will show you a little bit more on some cameras and things that we normally use in LPR. So just really in general, if you look at some camera installations, if you're thinking about LPR, this should be a trigger point. So just to make sure that your camera is mounted, we basically say the height is half of the distance of that of the vehicle and the camera. And you should always have this mounting angle maximum at 30%. We see a little bit of deviation going forward with Eocortex, but basically from a general perspective, this is what we are saying. And the same goes for the right or left side from a license plate, 30%, or the tilt of the car itself should not be more than let's say more or less 5%. Just some really simple rules of thumb. If you consider these, then your way of working with the cameras are much better. And also quite important, if we look into the license plate itself, we are suggesting and that this should be at least a size of 130 pixels in the image. And here actually we have a nice tool in our cameras called the pixel counter to make sure that you can actually calculate this. So in the screen with our pixel counter, it's available in every camera, so it's not on just specific ones. You can always check if you have the right amount of pixels for your installation. Just some of the really general and simple ways. But basically, if we are looking into LPR, and if we ask ourselves the question, why should we consider LPR? Just some of the things that you can think about. It's actually a money saver. If we look into an automated vehicle access system, it reduces some of the cost of having manned guard booth, for example, where you can now do this based on a license plate. It's also quite nice if you have some visitors coming in, you make sure that they are registered well in advance and they can get this nice open gate when they arrive. So we can work with a standalone system where the camera is really active and actually has a black or white list ID and controlling one gate, for example, directly. And if you want to go a bit more into other aspects, then we are looking into a partner solution. So this is where we see it, some of the changes coming ahead. So it's actually quite depending on your situation, of course, as always. That makes it really good because that makes it flexible as well. So you can see a little bit of a schematic view of an access camera in a license plate setup. Basically, when you use some third-party software, developing or creating the database and having the control of everything. And if you want to add some more security, you can actually also use our door controller, for example, where you have a combination with the license plate and maybe something ended in a keypad, or some extra security levels are needed. On that part, we have some integration with the Access 8101 for that, for the access control part, and also with our relay modules, which are basically 8 ports, so you can control a bit more than just basically the one port you can control with a camera. It's a bit more in details, but just as an overview. So if we are looking into our cameras and if we ask ourselves the question, so what kind of camera should we use when we are looking into license plate recognition? Well, if you look in general in our network cameras portfolio, then basically whatever you're looking for, you'll find an access network camera to suit your needs. So from robust outdoor cameras to quite discrete modular cameras that we have for some sensitive environments, we have it all in our portfolio. This creates quite a big portfolio on one hand, making it a bit harder to choose, I can imagine. But on the other hand, it makes it also better for you to select some of the cameras to work with. So our cameras, we are all providing excellent HDTV image quality, regardless of any lighting conditions or the size of the other characteristics it's, you will find in your areas to monitor. So we have several options over that part as well, and analytics developed by either us or by our partners transform basically your network camera into a business tool, and they can alert you to develop situations or developing situations and help you make smart decisions about your operations. In this case, for LPR, the use case is quite clear. So what I'll do next, I will show some of the units that we use for LPR and show some difference, some things to consider when you are in an LPR project. Because otherwise, in general, it can work with a lot of these cameras. But I will pick just a few cameras, just to show you some of the cameras that we advise from Access to work with LPR solutions. Yeah, to make sure that you don't have to go through all the basically 350 cameras that we have. There's the next one. So one of the cameras that I want to show today is in our P13 series. The P13 series is a fixed box camera which is used for actually quite a lot of situations. So we have it in an indoor and outdoor version, where probably the outdoor version will be most used if we look into to LPR. I show some models here with a higher resolution. In former times, a higher resolution always meant that you need more light, and that it's actually quite harder to have it all fixed. But today, even those cameras are getting really good, getting quite light sensitive. I will explain a bit further, making sure that it will always work also in more darker environments. And in LPR in general, we also always suggest using infrared. This camera doesn't have infrared inside. I will have some who will have some infrared inside, but these cameras have a lot of flexibility you can use. So in general, all these cameras, they deliver a full frame rate, which is 30 frames per second for the 5 megapixel pixel version or for the 4K version. What's really interesting for the people is that we are using a P-iris lens, as it's called, This gives us a really precise iris control solution, and the iris is inside the lens, adapting to the amount of light it will receive. And in our V1368, so the 4K version, we also use an ICS lens. And the ICS lens gives you the options to zoom in and zoom out remotely, completely. So this is really nice and really flexible. Furthermore, we support SIP-Stream. SIP-Stream is a technique in the Access products which gives you a nice bandwidth save, which is quite nice if you are looking into bigger projects. Looking to some of the characteristics of these cameras and some, again, in general, which are really important. Some of the techniques that are inside this camera is something called light finder, and light finder means that this camera can deliver really a nice color image still in as little light as 0.16 lux or even lower. So that is really light sensitive cameras, which of course is quite nice in case you are having a parking garage and you know, it's now we're going into the winter period, unfortunately, and we see that of course there's less light available, so it's really nice if your cameras can still see something. And on the other side you see something that's called forensic WDR. And WDR is a technique, you can see the picture on the right, just explaining it a bit better. WDR is a technique which captures basically all the details in both a dark and a bright area. So you can imagine if you are standing inside a tunnel, if you look outside, you see it correctly. And if you look, then you don't see the inside of the tunnel. If you look inside the tunnel, then the outside seems like a big ball of light, just like we see in the small picture on the right here. With WDR, we basically see both areas sharp and good. And why is this important? Again, in an LPR solution, you can imagine if a car is coming by, its lights are on, these are quite bright, the car itself is dark, you still want to capture the license plate. Using WDR makes you able to have this. So if you're looking into LPR, please look into forensic WDR or any of the other WDR things. So that's always really important. Furthermore, we have the newest chipset for the people knowing access in these types of cameras. So we have enhanced capacity for our analytics, for the analytics needed to run all sorts of stuff. What is really interesting here, if you look into the outside model, this unit is really made to have a reel. You see the camera itself looks quite funny, I would say. The good thing here is that this reel can be placed back and you can exchange it with a bigger lens. And this is unique for this camera. That's why this camera is really interesting for some LPR projects. If you have a bigger distance, for example, you need a bigger lens to capture the right size for the license plate. You can exchange the lens in these types of cameras and make sure that it still fits in the outdoor housing. Always something to take in consideration, of course, if you need a bigger lens. And here you see a picture from the side. It's actually officially it's a video clip, but you can imagine here. You can see where it's bended. This can actually move completely backwards, and then you have a complete way of mounting this lens. You also see in the back this small red clip, which if I go one back, you see here a bit better. That's something really nice. It's an IK10 tool, and if you use this, you can make sure that the lens is cleared from the glass, and we can guarantee an IK10 vandal resistant rating. So also on that part, if the camera needs to be vandal resistant, you can take this in consideration. Here you find an overview of all these cameras just discussed. Basically see also the light finder sensitivity modus. Even in our 4K model, it's really light sensitive. And again, the 4K model has this ICS lens as a standard. The other ones are a different type of mounting where you have a manual lens. So moving on, just if there are any questions, please put them in the chat. At the end of the access part, I will quickly see if there are any questions. I already saw some things coming by, like the webinar share. That's of course no problem. And furthermore, we will move on. So moving on to the next series, which is actually our P14 network camera series, which is a really popular camera in our portfolio because it has really a multi-purpose way of working. So you can use it in a lot of different situations. All the cameras that we have are outdoor ready, but you don't have to put them outdoor. They're not really that big. It's actually quite nice size camera, so we can use it for both indoor and outdoor solutions. Having a high resolution in this portfolio, coming up from the 1080p version up to a 4K version as well. We all deliver 30 frames per second again. All the things I've just mentioned, will not mention it again, like a forensic WDR, light finder is also inside. But this camera also has something different, which is optimized IR. So built in this housing, we find an IR solution, creating up to 25 to 30 meters. I will have an overview on that really soon, so you can have some ideas about it. So by doing this, we have a high performance in all lighting condition, and actually we can create a 24-hour coverage. And the 24-hour coverage is because of the use of the IR, of course, with this. I see some question coming in. I will answer this in a moment. I think this is a nice part. I will get an answer for you in a moment. Looking into these cameras, if we are what I said, they are for in and outdoor installation, and they have quite extreme temperatures basically. So they are temperature ranges is from -40 up to +60 degrees, which is especially for this region here. Well, it's fine. We don't see it a lot of times going up to +60. Well, we do have warmer summers anyway, but 60 degrees is quite high. We can use them ideally for 24/7 video surveillance, for example, office entrances, shopping malls, but also parking lots where we again see the LPR need coming in. They have something inside called a shock detection. So if somebody actually hits the camera, we can trigger an alarm on that. And furthermore, they are vandal resistant. So again, these are IK10 rated, of course IP66 for outdoor, and NEMA 4X even for all the needed ratings you sometimes see in your projects. So we can go all the way. These cameras are quite fully featured, to put this precise. We also see that we have remote focus. So on these cameras is a motorized lens where you can zoom in, making sure that you have the right set of pictures. Furthermore, we see the wide dynamic range again, and also audio capable. So you can connect audio to this and use it as an input for recording sound, for example. It comes with Zipstream, as all our new cameras come, so we help you reduce some of the storage and bandwidth needs. And we have an I/O control on these units, making sure that you can also directly address it to some I/O steering if needed. So we have, if we look in an overview, we have some of the models. These are all the new models that are current at this point. We see it ranges from a 1080p to a 4K version. A lot of times we'll see for these types of LPR questions that you'll just need the 1080p version. What's interesting here is that you still see the P1435, the most one on the right. It has actually two lenses, so you can choose which lens you want to buy. You have to choose it actually when you're buying it, just to be sure to say this. And again, this is for your distance. So if you have a longer distance, you can pick a longer lens, which is already inside in this housing. And also the IR is a bit stronger, having a reach up to 50 meters. So we have several of the wide dynamic range settings that we have, like forensic WDR, and the other one is WDR forensic capture, which is a little bit strange maybe if you look at it, but it's the previous version of it. Um, just maybe to answer the question which is asked, WDR is basically HDR, what we call it in the photography. It stands for high dynamic range. We call it wide dynamic range. It's basically the same idea. That's correct. Estimated latency is quite hard actually to pinpoint that for this moment, but it doesn't really affect it really much if you look into non-WDR or WDR. And the reason for this is that our processors in the cameras, they are capable of delivering um, uh, well, a lot. Let's put it different. If we look into the 1080p version, then you can imagine that for this WDR setting, we actually are not shooting one video stream of 1080p, but we are shooting 3 video streams of 1080p. But our processor in the camera is actually capable of doing 5 of those streams simultaneously. And the settings per stream are different. One is normal lighting condition, and one is like a low light condition, and then high light condition. And we use those streams and put them together live, creating the WDR picture. But basically, because we have a higher capacity on our processing chip, that's why we can do this WDR and make sure that it doesn't increase the latency too much. Of course, there's always a little bit of latency. Just hopefully this answers your questions a little bit. And I see the H.265 part. No, it's not supported at this point. We have some cameras with H.265. However, honestly, at this point, we see that there are still a lot of questions around H.265, also on the licensing model and also on the decoding side. So our cameras can do it, but then there's no PC in the world which can view the pictures, for example. So there are some challenges in this world. So on that part, we don't fully believe in H.265 yet. It will come, I'm sure of it. But at this point, if we look into H.264, including access zip stream, we have a bandwidth consumption which is lower than if you just use H.265. So on that part, we don't really need to go to H.265 yet, but it will come in time. Looking into the IR coverage again, just something really interesting, I think, for you. Also, when you are into these kind of projects, consider this. These are the limitations, basically, of the infrared. If I pick an example like the P1445 LE, which is, I think, one of the most used for the LPR solution, we can go up to 40 meters, which is really quite a nice space, especially if you look into parking lots or those kind of solutions. So it's still quite a long distance actually. Moving on to a little bit of a different type of camera, and basically I want to show you this because sometimes a bullet camera, for example, is not something you want. Maybe it's quite a low ceiling, or it's in a place where you have well, a lot of vandals coming around. Of course, our cameras are vandal resistant, but still, if you want to point them the other direction, it's much easier to do that with a bullet style camera. So now showing you our fixed box cameras, and in particular the P32 35, the LV. So again, this is a camera with integrated IR, but it's completely built to be vandal resistant as both indoor and the LVE, which is outdoor ready. Not to be too repetitive, of course, but still we see a lot of the same image usability factors that we also see in our P14 series. This one is equipped with the WDR forensic capture to handle the strong variations in light. Light finder as well, the built-in IR illumination with optimized IR. This is something I've just mentioned already. And optimized IR means that we actually adapt to the amount of reflection. So instead of creating a really white picture, if we see somebody, for example, or a car is closing in on the camera, we will also use less IR light to make sure that it's not too well lit. That's optimized IR. In this one, we are talking about a full HD TV camera, 1080p. So we see these camera working in, for example, our retail sectors, banking, hotels, but we also see them at entrances. If you use the outdoor version, it's a lot of times used for entrance monitoring, for just a really security kind of monitoring as well as the analytics part. So here, good visible when you want to use it for the outdoor version as well, which is quite good that we have an outdoor ready version. It comes with a weather shield. This weather shield, it looks a bit like a cap for the camera. Basically, it is a little bit like a cap for the camera. Black inside to make sure that the IR light doesn't reflect. So actually, it's quite a clever cap, to put it this way. But it helps you for making sure that you don't have troubles with either the sun can't shine in, of course, or when it starts raining, that the drops of rain are coming up to the lens. So it's really important to use this on an outdoor model. Our outdoor models are all IK10 rated. So again, they are vandal resistant. For the indoor models, there's an IK08 rating to be precise even on that part. And again, we see that Zipstream is just a really nice feature, helping you lowering the bandwidth. Just if I compare these two cameras, here you also see the difference in IK rating, but also the digital I/O that it supports. So basically, on this camera there is a digital I/O with one supervised in and output, meaning that you can actually use this camera also directly to open a gate. Now, in an IPR, if you want to connect it into a gateway or something like that, you can do this basically directly. You can add a microphone into it if you want to have a two-way audio connection. Even you can connect the microphone and the speaker. It's not in the housing, so you have to connect it separately. But we have the connectors available inside the housing. So then we are, if we are look back, we saw some of the camera models, which is a fixed box one. A bullet style camera makes it more versatile and easy to handle. And if we are looking into a fixed dome camera, for example, also for some vandal resistant ways. Now we are going a step further, let's put it this way. And we are looking into our Q17 cameras. Where the Q17 is our top line cameras. So if you are in need for something more scalable and more robust with a very, very high zoom factor, then this is your way to go. This is basically one of the biggest advantages of this camera, and I would invite everybody, again, sometimes videos are really good. If you YouTube this camera, you see a nice picture of the zoom factor, for example. It has a 30 times remote optical zoom. So the zoom is completely optical, which is good, so you don't lose any of your resolution. So we deliver high resolution in full frame rate. Again, it's an 1080p or an Quad HD version. And we can actually go up to 60 frames per second in this time. So even not only full frame rate, but 60 frames per second. So this is for really, really demanding situations, and also for LPR when the speed of the car is going up. This is also really important. I will go up to it a little bit quick, because otherwise we run really out of time. It's quite robust, day and night, weather resistant, impact resistant. Optimized IR in this one is up to 80 meters, which is really, really, really a lot. So again, if you need a really long distance, you can use this one as well. It operates up to -40 to +60 as well, so it's again no problems over that environment. And if you are looking into some vibrating conditions, for example, when it's on a pole really high, we can have something like it's called electronic image stabilization, to handle these kind of vibrations, and we also have defog to clear images when you are looking into a foggy situation. So this is really a high demanding type of camera. A little bit out of scope, but we also deliver our own guard suite analytics, which is a motion detection and a crossline detection. It's a standard in this camera, so we also, of course, it's different than the LPR part, but it's also really important here. And we see that we have some of the scene profiles to make sure that we help you creating the nice ways as well. And again, audio supervised I/O is also in this. I see some questions coming on that part, so I will answer them in a moment. And here we see an overview of the two different versions. Basically, we see a 2 megapixel 1080p and the Quad HD version. The question that I see, supervised input, double resistance. Yes, we can. I understand the question. If you mean if we can track the inputs, yes, we can. So we have this on a double kind of resistance. I'm not sure if it's completely working like that, but on this part, I mean on the P32. But I know for other cameras it works with the double resistance. I need to come back to you for that, or exactly for this model. And Oliver asking, if somebody tried to cut the microphone, do you have an alert? Well, actually that's a really good question. On the microphone perspective, no, because a microphone is an analog kind of input device. We have digital microphones. If you use a digital microphone, then yes, we can. So from the microphone perspective, no, but from the camera side, we can detect when there's absolutely no sound anymore, and it falls back into only white noise, and of course then there's something wrong. So we can trigger on that. It's not 100% feel safe, I would say, but there are some options on that part. I'm finalizing my presentation actually with a nice picture on the Q17. I almost forgot this one. Here you see some of the ideas when you are looking into pixels per meter, which I just explained. For example, yeah, you need a license plate, which is 133 pixels, 130 pixels you need as a minimum. You can imagine if you have well, quite a long distance and you have 200 pixels per meter left, you can you can calculate how much licenses you could recover, etc. So this is some nice overview on that part. And for this, basically this was my part. So if there are any questions right now, please ask them, send them in the chat. I will also type in my email address if maybe it's for somebody has some questions later on. And Vera, I will give it to you. And okay,
one more time, good morning dear friends, and very glad to welcome you at our webinar dedicated to license plate recognition models. And thank you, Fabian, for the informative, wonderful first part of our webinar. So, first of all, I would like to express gratitude to our partners, ADI and Axis, who helped us to organize this webinar. And, hello, do you hear me well? Sorry? Too loud. Okay. Okay, so as I said, we would like to express our gratitude to partners, ADI and Axis. They helped really much to organize this webinar. And my honorable colleague Fabian already told you about the main aspects of choosing equipment for license plate recognition. Now we are going further and we'll focus on software questions. We will cover such topics during the webinar, the second part, as what tasks license plate recognition can solve, and wait a second. Okay, now it's fine. What task license plate recognition can solve, how to choose recognition system software, what to focus on, how to install the equipment to ensure maximum recognition accuracy, what opportunities are there for the user when employing professional software solutions, and we will analyze them together and advise solutions based on use of Eocortex. Moreover, at the end of the webinar, you will get the chance to receive full commercial licenses free of charge for your projects as a gift. So don't miss this amazing opportunity in such a high season. All you need is answer 2 questions in the end of this session. So please, yeah.
Vera, maybe I interrupt you really briefly, but you sound
Ah, okay.
really hard. Maybe you can move your
Yeah,
microphone a little
sure,
bit
Fabian.
because we
Thank you.
hear
Is
a
it
lot of
is it is
cracking
it
in the.
better? Is it better?
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, great,
This
great.
this is a lot
Okay.
better. Yes,
So thank you,
perfect.
Fabian,
Thanks.
for these comments. So please, colleagues, make yourself comfortable and let me introduce myself as well. My name is Vera, International Sales Manager at Eocortex, and I'm responsible for relations with partners from Benelux. Also, I would like to introduce my colleague Alexei. Alexei will join the webinar in the chat and will answer all your questions. So, Eocortex is a global provider of an open platform video management software with the added strong intelligence of video analytics and network video recorders. The Eocortex company has been active on the world market for almost 10 years, and now it's right 2 years since we've been working in Benelux. So don't forget to congratulate us on December the 17th because it's our anniversary. Wait a minute, please. Good. Okay. Okay, great. Let's continue then. So,
Yes.
as I already said, and as you could see on this picture, sorry for this interruption, guys. Thank you for your help. We fixed everything. I hope everything will go smoothly. Yeah, thank you a lot for your support. So, Eocortex company has been active on the world market for almost 10 years, and now it's right 2 years since we've been working in Benelux. So don't forget to congratulate us on the December 17th because it's our anniversary. So here you can see main achievements of Eocortex on the Benelux market. We have provided our customers with solutions for all the tasks for more than 15 vertical markets. For example, our customers with solutions our customers, yeah, they are provided with solutions from different markets. For example, in retail, in manufacturing industry, in the airports, government facilities, logistics, private property, and many others. And we have experience involving more than 250 projects successfully implemented in the past 2 years. More than 5,000 cameras provide safety and security in a wide range of objects, and our market share continues to increase. By the way, please let me know who of you guys is new to Eocortex and haven't yet implemented any projects with us, because we will provide you with opportunities to test our product right after this session absolutely for free. So please write in the chat if you don't have experience with Eocortex yet. It would be really interesting to see. Yeah, don't hesitate. Okay, I guess everyone works with Eocortex. Oh, it sounds good. Great. Okay, let's go further. So during this webinar, we will highlight the main aspects of effective work with license plate recognition and some problems that you may face during project implementation. Please feel free to share with us your examples and your questions right here in the chat. So let's see what are the tasks that we can take with this module. Generally, the module is designed to handle the following: automatic access control and road condition monitoring. The access control system permits to automate the access to the areas of various facilities, industrial, residential, public, etc. So as well as to monitor the time a car spends on a parking lot. And other features of the module allow to arrange monitoring and assure safety on the roads. Yeah, thus the module helps to solve the full spectrum of tasks related to providing road safety. And here you can see the main features of the module. First of all, you can create various groups with the different levels of access to the site. In order to ensure access control, you need to create a black and white list of license plate numbers. The cars with white lists numbers have access, while the ones with the blacklist numbers will be intercepted. The corresponding number will be marked with the red frame, and its appearance will generate the alarm event. I will show you later in another picture how it works. You can create various groups within the database. Besides that, you are able to control the opening of the rising arm barrier, which can be done manually or automatically. The barrier automatically opens when the camera registers a number from the white list. The barrier closes in a set time after the vehicle has entered the area. Also, license plate recognition module allows you to create a database with all the numbers of vehicles that entered with dates and times of their registration by the system. Working with a database, you will be able to perform the search and playback the required video clips recorded by the cameras. If necessary, all the data may be downloaded in Excel format. All of this will help ensure the total control over your protected territory. As it was said earlier, the primary task is to arrange the automatic access. Using the license plate recognition module, you can organize the automatic access of the authorized visitors to the premises, the facilities. Moreover, the system allows you to store all data regarding such visitor. For example, its name, title, car model, its color, vehicle license plate number. Accordingly, the visitors whose car number is not in the group of authorized vehicle numbers will not have access to the territory. Additionally, the system will recognize the number and save it in your database. Thanks to license plate recognition module, you will know who, when, and for how long stayed on your premises. And that automatic system significantly reduces your staff costs, that's for sure. At this picture, you can see the operation of the license plate recognition module, as I offered you already. A car approaches the rising arm barrier. The camera recognizes its number and sends a signal to the camera's input. Depending on the group where the car number is placed, an event is generated. The rising arm barrier is opened, or the alarm event is created for the subsequent interception. Also, it's important to arrange the entrance to the barrier in a proper way. To give the camera a chance to recognize the license plate number, it's necessary to hold it steady. This is performed in the so-called registration zone. In this zone, the vehicle speed needs to be reduced to 20 km per hour or even less. To do so, it's recommended to install a corresponding road sign, a speed bump, or road marking. Let's go further. Now let us move to the next application of the module that solves more complex tasks, namely road monitoring. This task is more difficult to tackle due to the unstable conditions of license plate recognition. High vehicle speed, huge traffic, changing environmental conditions, the usual one. License plate recognition module will help you to do the following. Firstly, it's registration of various traffic violations. Speed infringement, entering the oncoming lane, not respecting the stop sign, crossing a solid line, stopping in a prohibited area, running a red light. Also, it helps to find stolen vehicles and count traffic volume. You will know the situation on the roads in the city, meaning that you will be able to prevent emergencies and promptly respond to accidents, thus ensuring the adequate level of safety for each and every citizen. You can see how the module works in the Safe City program, Safe City system. The camera recognizes the numbers of the passing vehicles, and if a number is stored in the database in the group of numbers intended to be intercepted, the alarm event is generated. You will be able to receive the notification regarding such event in your email or messenger or other convenient means. Thus, the alarm will be raised, enabling you to respond in appropriate way. Thanks to the license plate recognition module, you will not only solve the whole range of security-related tasks, but also reduce staff costs and eliminate human errors. You will provide safety on any territory used by vehicles and obtain access to the huge database, which you will later be able to utilize for monitoring and for preventing emergencies. So you could have doubts regarding the applicability of the model for your country because the number plates of vehicles are really different all over the world. They have different colors, sizes, styles, etc. We are happy to inform you that Eocortex module works with license plate numbers of more than 49 countries, including even European ones. Now let's see how the license plate recognition looks from the inside. Really interesting. You see the main window of license plate recognition setup. Here you can choose a country and set up the area for license plate recognition. Do you see it? Also, you may set up the action. For example, the opening of the rising arm barrier. Okay. Different plates and countries. Let's go further. Here we see the license plate model in the Eocortex client. The recognized number is shown in the upper right corner, together with the additional data about the owner, such as his or her name, position, and etc. You can decide which information will be displayed. If you have new data, you may add it online. It's not a problem. Apart from the number of a vehicle, you will see the group it belongs to. It's color marked. Do you see it? The red? The numbers in the black list are shown in a red frame. Let us go to the parameters of the module. There are two modes of its operation. They differ by the tasks they solve. The parking license ensures access control, and highway license helps to gather events and generate responses to them. In the parking mode, the frame rate of 6 frames per second is used for analysis. At that mode, the camera can shoot 25 frames per second, but no additional hardware capacities will be required for the analysis. To ensure successful license plate recognition, the speed of a vehicle will have to be reduced to 20 kilometers per hour. Additionally, it's necessary to observe the requirements for the maximum number of license plates in the frame and the tilt angle. If the requirements are met, the recognition accuracy will reach 99%. Another mode, highway, is used on roads and highways. The analysis requires 25 frames per second, but in this mode a number could be recognized even at the speed of 150 kilometers per hour. Thus, you will be able to monitor traffic not only on the city roads, but also on the highways. Let's consider the issue of license plate recognition accuracy. To ensure the accurate recognition of a number, the following conditions are required to be met. The minimum symbol width must be 2 pixels and the age must be equal 15 pixels. In order to recognize the symbols on the road, the camera must be located at a distance of 6 meters above the center of the control plane. The control zone center must be 20 meters away from the installation location. For parking mode, it will be enough to have 3 meters over the edge of the lane. The control zone center shall be 11 meters away from the traffic lane. Ensuring compliance with these requirements will allow to recognize license plate numbers with high accuracy and without errors. Additionally, it is imperative to consider the angle of the road. As Fabian already shown you a little bit of this issue, the vertical angle must be less than 40 degrees, and the slope of the road must not exceed 10 degrees. The horizontal angle of the camera installation must be less than 30 degrees. There is a life hack that will help you to know that the camera has been installed right. If you are able to draw a horizontal line from one side of a number plate to the other, the number will be recognized. But if the line doesn't enter the other side of the plate, it will not. Install your camera in the right way and you will be sure that the access to the territory will be available only for authorized vehicles. Now we are going to focus on a very frequently asked question that appears every time when this module is being installed. What number will not be recognized? Here are some obstacles may be faced to recognize the number. Low contrast, as you can see on the pictures, low resolution, uneven lighting, overexposed, smudged, disordered, interlaced, dirty, and as you can see, the accuracy depends not only on the correct camera installation and the adequate mode selection, but also on the image quality of the numbers. Dear friends, we believe that all features and recommendations of Eocortex and Axis mentioned above will help you to get more projects and will be useful for your clients for sure. Please do not hesitate to share in chat your problems and questions you have about license plate recognition. It will definitely help to build effective cooperation and will allow to improve Eocortex product for your benefit. Now you have the opportunity to check all the advantages of working with Eocortex in a practical way. We will provide you with full commercial licenses free of charge. These licenses you can use in any of your new projects. I'm sure that Ultra license will suit any projects from your pipeline. All you have to do is answer 2 questions now right here and then provide details about one of your projects to our account manager at Eocortex in order to help you. We wish you to win more projects, get more happy customers, and increase your income with Eocortex. Be part of our international team and stay tuned. Thank you, Fabian, for your support one more time. And please check the questions. I will put them now. There are 3 of them. Please check these questions. Hope you see it. I will give you 5 minutes to finish them. Yeah, guys, thank you for joining us and hope to working together soon. And if you will not have enough time to fill this form out on the 3 questions about CCTV projects and current work, if you're ready to share information in order to get Ultra licenses for free and evaluate the quality of the webinar. Of course, we remember about the sound system, but I hope it will not reflect on the quality of content. So we will give you 5 minutes more for free of these questions. Thank you one more time.